today?
Good.
Yeah. Okay, so we're finally to the core part of the retreat, which is the spa. We are now going. We are finally to the tech part. We finished the spec, the more spec part of the retreat. So we welcome on stage Francesco, which is actually already on the stage, to start illustrating the program for the day and a lot of other stuff that you better need. Cool. See you guys.
Okay, welcome everyone. First question: how have you liked so far? Okay, awesome. So a lot of people during the weekend asked us, "Hey guys, about how Speck&Tech started or whatever." Last year gave a great introduction about the history of Speck&Tech. So I think it was deserving a bit of update since we were left in October 2018. So for those that didn't know about this, this is how it started. We, with Marti Brugnara, a post on Facebook saying we would like to organize an event in FBK and the University of Trento on the 25th of February 2016. And actually, Giulio replied saying that we were actually discussing about that, also with Mattia Larentis. And I was saying that I could bring some budget and funding via Yeti Digital. So we met on the 1st March 2016, starting with Speck&Tech, and this was the first event, number 0. With this actually was the attendance. Beautiful. Nobody. No, of course, there were a lot of people that came over the event. These were the results, so we started jotting down topics and things that people wanted to hear and talk about and give a talk about, suggestions, possible talks. And this is how it started. So then we started clustering a bit the topics and the concept and saying, okay, this is the first talks that we're going to give at Speck&Tech. And this was the attendance at the end of the event. If you look on Facebook, there's still an embarrassing video shot by Giulio probably, going around and disturbing people, being annoying, asking how did they feel.
I remember.
But you can definitely spot some of the people that are still here, and it's insane after 3 years and a half. So this was the first Speck&Tech ever with Giovanni giving a talk. On the second Speck&Tech, we started having the spec actually. So at the beginning it was just a joke for the name because of the sound, and then we actually started having the spec. And together with the spec, you can see a beautiful David over there, a Marco Musi, and a bunch of people. Actually, there was the spec, there were the first things, and there was this embarrassing thing made by Williams, which was a basket to throw the coins. Because we started getting a donation to pay back the spec. Then on the 4th of July we had another event in Impact Hub. Actually the lightning stuff collapsed and we were like in the dark for a couple of minutes till Michele solved everything as always. And here's when we realized that we were growing big. This was the event on security in October 2016. The room was getting packed. We were like around 90, 100 people, something like that. And actually, Montezon showed up, which was like a sign of saying, yeah, we're doing things all right. Then we had the first birthday, like a lot of events in between, with the people doing shitty stuff. And we noticed that we were growing well, so we said, okay, let's actually register as association. So here is when we met our commercialista, made all the very boring paper stuff, and we founded the association on the 18th of April 2017. So we starting fatturare, we started actually getting the donation from you. To pay back like the cost that we had for events, like covering the spec, the beers, and whatever we serve for free. We had our designer coming there, looking at the audience and starting sketch the t-shirts of Speck&Tech, the first edition. Now we are at the third one, as you notice. And here was more or less 1 year and a half after starting, and this was the room. I see also Yulia and Bonte sitting next to each other, insane. And we were like growing well, so we said, okay, let's make a crazy thing, and we decided to apply to the ACTEV, so the hackathon for the digital transformation team. That was happening in 26 cities around Italy and 1 San Francisco in the United States. There were like around 40 people. I see definitely many of you over there. And these were like all the participants at the end of the event. That was won by an 18-year-old girl. On the 21st December, we had our first Christmas dinner for the Directivo, and then we started the season again with an event of machine learning. I don't know if you remember that time, guys, but it was insane. Like people everywhere, sitting everywhere. We had to ask people to get down from here because it was collapsing.
I wasn't.
Second, 2 years of
It's a
activity.
joke. Nothing is collapsing.
Okay, it broke. Martin.
Analog finger. No, sto ignorando. Sì, sì.
Yes.
Hi.
And this was like April, always of that year, and we decided to have even a bigger event that was held in the Piazza Duomo Square during the Trento Smart City Week. It was insane, so many people that we actually had to put people in the other, how do you call that? I don't know, in the other room, basically, other space. And actually people were looking at the screencasting stuff from the other room on the TVs. And we were like so eager to organize an event there that we spent 1,000 euros on a buffet for everyone. So we had our second annual Directivo with the Consiglio with our soci. And then we also organized an event in Munich. So half of it was in Trento, half of it was in Munich, screen sharing the talks from one place to the other. Second edition of the t-shirt, and that's where we announced the first edition of the retreat. Before that, we also had an event at the airport with Festivalare. It was quite cool, like airplanes everywhere. And this was the edition of the Speck&Tech Retreat last year. So 1 year ago, can you raise your hands? How many of you were here? Okay, half the room more or less. This is where we left. What happened in between? There are a lot of photos that we probably shouldn't show around of that retreat. Luckily, we are not live on Facebook. Luckily, those pictures were never shared. There are like some official ones with all the beautiful stickers. There's some surprise for today as well. After that, 3 days later, we were organizing an event on open source with these two guys. It was quite a funny picture.
Hi.
Then an event in November about productivity with Max Delay taking his beautiful stickers. And then event in December with the Arduino guys, which is where we started the collaboration with them. Our second dinner for Christmas with all the Directivo. And then was January, and here was the city of Cloudflare. If you remember, like nobody was saying anything, like no words at all, like super calm environment, amazing talk. If you want, you can go on the Cloudflare blog. They wrote 6 blog posts about that event. With Michele being the master of ceremonies and asking questions to our speaker. Then like, look at this combo. Our speaker coming directly from London, and our Russian friend as well. And then we started this thing with Musa. Yay, nay, what do you think? How do you like it?
Yay.
Okay.
They stole my bike there.
They stole your bike. Damn. Okay, there was this collaboration with Musa, 3 events that we did in a row. The first one was insane, 300 something people sitting more or less everywhere in the museum. Adrian Vartale on stage giving a show, and then like the astronaut, a piece of moon. People like sitting actually literally everywhere. And the glorious moment of the cake coming on stage for our 3rd year of activity. Then we had the second edition, that was the workshop. We see a beautiful look at being an enthusiastic jury member over there. And Giulio interviewing the rector of the University of Venice, of UAV.
That was hard.
What was that? And then, like the jury, the winner, that was actually one of our speakers. Our workshop with Arduino, still at Muse, and I see some of you here that were attending, with around 40 people that attended globally, and we were basically hacking plants to know how wet or dry they are. And then the last event on artificial intelligence, still at Muse, for the collaboration with them. After that, you see the guys, we had the way back event. Unfortunately, Impact Up couldn't host us any longer because they had troubles because they were expanding their seats and the spaces for the companies. So we said, okay, fine, we will find a new destination, a new location. And we went to Sea Lab.
Wet.
Sweat. I remember people going around, going outside because it was too hot. It was insanely hot. And yeah, so there were these guys from Benny Spoons, and we are there here still again today. So we are very happy that you supported us and you became the sponsor for this retreat. And yeah, you remember that question live asked to around 100,000 people in Italy, asking what is happening in Trento, which community is meeting, and the answer was actually Speck&Tech, with one that was polenta and servers. Yeah. Quite interesting. Yeah. Still on that event, we had our new T-shirts. Yeah. So we had the new T-shirts. Many of you asked us if we could have like the T-shirts today, and actually we have them here, so you can go upstairs and buy them after lunch.
We're
Of
also
course.
selling the new shampoo of.
And then after that, we said, okay, we need to find a better venue. We started looking around, and in the end, we went for the Galleria. So they're a bit expensive for us. I mean, everything is expensive compared to zero. So, as you can imagine, there are some costs connected to this, and that's also why we ask for your donations to keep the boat running. And as you can see, the venue was quite cool. There is a very long room that is generally packed with people. This was our event on the very last day of July, and it's insane to gather 150 people basically in August in Trento. And on the 4th of October, 10 days ago, we had the event on what was the name? I don't remember. Can you remember?
Cyber intelligence.
Cyber intelligence. And we had Evariska Lua, the hacker of Rousseau, giving a talk, and Federico Scrinzi directly from Google. So, we started 3 years and a half ago saying that we wanted to become a community, a place where people could gather and talk about design, technology, startups, and any related topic, with the goal of sharing and learning about that, and also to try to push people to get into tech, and also to learn more and to know what we can do good with that. And I think after 40 plus events and more than 5,000 attendees, we got there, so we are quite happy, and we are happy that to see so many of you here today. So what's next? Yeah, we still don't know. Like, there's a bunch of stuff ahead, and I think the only answer that we have is you, because what we've done in these years was also listening to your feedback, listening to your suggestions, to the speakers that you were suggesting, also asking the community to come and give a talk. So you're always really welcome, and that's what we wrote also in our beautiful and touchy card that we gave to you over these days. I think we made something very, very cool these years, and probably it's a sign that you're all here attending this event. So anything is welcome from your side, suggesting speakers, topics, venues, whatever you want. Anything is really appreciated, and I think we can only go in the same direction. So thanks a lot. Ok, tornando alle cose formali, getting back to more serious stuff. Speck&Tech Retreat. We are here finally. We will have in a few minutes the first speaker, Simon VOCELLA, who joined us from Benny Spoons the whole weekend, and the second one over there, Paolo from INFORMATICA. They were the two main sponsors of the event, and we really thank you a lot, because that is also some cash flow that we can use for covering the next events and the next spec and the next beers that we will buy. As I said before, we will have these two talks, then there will be the pitches from the companies. So the first one will be Bending Spoons, then we have Delta Informatica, and then there will be SPAZIODATI as bronze sponsor of the event. After that, we will go to lunch, 1 hour and a half of lunch till 1:30, and from 1:30 to 2:30 is right here. Give me one extra minute. Okay. After lunch, we will go to the career fair. It's actually in the room in the salotto, where we had
Upstairs.
Yeah, upstairs actually. Last year was very well participated. A lot of people were asking the companies what they do, how they work, showing us the product, getting into stuff, concrete things. And also that is where you can buy your swag. Last year we gave out a lot of t-shirts. If you want this year's edition t-shirt, it's also there. And if you visit all the 3 companies that are there, they will give you a timbrino, and with 3 timbrini you will get a gift from Speck&Tech. So you should definitely pass by all of them. After that, at 2:30, we have an hour of things. So the first one is the workshop by Marista. It will be held still in the room upstairs in the salotto, and it will last 1 hour. It's about Figma. If you haven't downloaded Figma but you would like to do it, you can still do it. There's still time. Take some minutes in advantage so that we are not late in the schedule. At the same time, fuck, yeah, that was I confused with Docker. Yeah, similar, yeah. Okay. Then we have Davide Pedranz giving a workshop here in the Menedrio room about monitoring as well.
I think that Davide is the person with the most experience as a speaker. This is the third.
No, second.
Third. Ah, yeah.
Second. Yeah. And then we have the in parallel in the very end room, the Rotian, like down here in the corridor. We have space for 2 talks. The first one is by Luca Guadagnini about blockchain stuff, and the second one from Filippo about machine learning stuff. Just for you to be more clear, if you want to know more details, just go on our brochure, which you can find in the Telegram channel. Okay, after that we come back here, and before closing, I didn't have a better picture. There's actually a game thing, which is a nice way to finish up the event. And after that, the merenda for everyone. And we leave quite packed back to Trento with the train at 5. We arrive in Trento at 7:08, so if you plan to take trains or whatever back home, let us know. Okay, finally, questions. Slide.to/retreat, or if you go on slide.to, insert the word retreat. You can ask questions to the speakers, we moderate them, and at the end, when the talk is done, we can come here and ask them whatever you want, so that we are sure that the quality of the questions is high and not simply, you're beautiful. Speck&Tech, we welcome on stage our first speaker.
Last but not least, because it's a nice thing to say every time, I would really like to thank all the volunteers of the team of Speck&Tech, which Franz didn't say to himself. Most of the work has been done this time from people which are not me. This is one of the first times that I just hadn't the energy or time enough to follow all the activities and everything, and I feel super happy that we managed to introduce new people to the team, and this is what keeps Speck&Tech alive. There's a lot of work behind the scene of people spending basically their free time, because this is not our work. Speck&Tech is always in a loss, economically talking, and so yeah, a warm applause to everyone who organized this event, because Alright, and now the boring stuff. Let's go with Simon now. Alright.
Hey. Hi. Prova. Okay, better. Okay, guys. Thank you, Franz. Thank you, Giulio. Today I will present. I will do a presentation about our values. In these past few years, there was hard times, but also beautiful times in many schools. And me and Davide thought that share our values can be something important and also very deep. No? Okay, this is me. I started work in many schools in April 2018. Before I did some bunch of stuff. If you like some of the things that we talk, is after ask me about everything you want or send me an email. And also, I thought that Davide will be better than me than share some of our past experience, because also he shared some of our times and also beautiful times.
Can you hear me? Okay, yes. Amazing. Well, you know me already. I started with Speck&Tech a couple 3 years ago, randomly, because Willie told me, hey, you should do a talk. Okay, let's do a talk. I work together with Simon at Bending Spoons now. Come and meet us later. We have cool stuff to share. I used to study in Trento. This is why I was involved in Speck&Tech since the very beginning, because it was a really cool stuff. And during that time I used to work at FBK, then I thought, okay, let's move to something more exciting, and I moved to Bending Spoons. And that is my email if you want. That's boring.
Okay, perfect. Today we will share 5 of our values. We usually spend a lot of time about our culture. I think you can do that. And also we spend a lot of time about our culture because we need to have a way to be aligned without talking too much and understanding what is really important and what is not. For example, we value a lot this first thing, ask for feedback. We usually ask for feedback to our colleagues, to everyone who we work with, also if someone from an external company. We ask feedback even to our competitors sometimes, because we really look for constructive feedback, because I think it's one of the most effective way to grow as a person and as a professional. We usually spend also a lot of time to understand how to receive feedback and also to give feedback. For example, if you receive feedback from someone that say that maybe you are slow and no one say it before, maybe you are doing something new, maybe it is an hard time for you, or maybe you are intrinsically slow because there is something that is blocking you. So every time you receive feedback, try to think what you try to say and try to really push yourself to understand how to be, in this case, more fast. We had another example the last week. I said to my team leader that he lacks of empathy, and we had a discussion. And what I'm trying to say it was that that was kind of difficult moment for the team, and it was like a way to told me that we need support. Or other time that I say the same things, maybe it's something that I don't know. Maybe there is sometime there is someone that is jerk to some colleagues. Maybe it's time to think how to say and what you say. And also, when try to give feedback, try to think about concrete action, because it's a way to be effective, and also to understand how properly manage this issue, because saying something without something useful or some real action, it can be stressful for the other person, because maybe he doesn't know how to address, and also value time. Sometimes to change you need a lot of time. We believe so much in feedback that we try to say to anyone to have feedback, and also everyone as a sponsor that try to collect feedbacks from people who work with, and try to do every 3 or 6 months. So you understand how the things are going on.
So the second thing we wanted to share is always to be ambitious. I guess you guys are ready since you are here. That's really a good sign. But what I mean here is always aim for perfection. Always aim for something big. Usually you have a good, really amazing team. You really need to try to do your best from the very beginning. What we saw in practice is that the times where we tried to cut on quality, it actually didn't pay off in the end. You spend, I don't know, maybe only 10% of your time coding something, then when this is done, it is maintenance, it is bug fixing, it is monitoring stuff. This is a spoiler for the afternoon. You spend time actually maintaining that. What we saw in practice is that if you try to make it fast in the beginning, so if you try to spare a couple of days of development of working, then in the end it doesn't pay off. I wanted to share with you an example, something I was working on in the last couple of months, something like that. You guys are familiar with the topic of infrastructure as a code? Hands up, nobody? Okay, whatever. It is basically a way to define, we like coding. Do you like coding?
Yeah.
Woo! Finally.
Hi.
The idea there is, okay, you have maybe 20 tools, you have 30 applications, you have to keep all the infrastructure up and running. You want to make sure everything is aligned. What we decide to do is to code that. There are a couple of really amazing tools out there that you can use to actually write the infrastructure as a code. What we did there in the beginning was to create some shared modules using one of these tools to define our infrastructures. We didn't spend much time doing that, and after maybe 1 month, it collapsed. It went totally wrong. You couldn't barely create a new tool. It was basically impossible to work with that. We decided that it was the moment to change, a moment to actually improve the situation. What we decided to do is to spend some weeks. I spent, I guess, at least 2 weeks only doing that. What I was doing was to try to really analyze deeply what we needed there, create some shared modules we can use for at least a couple of years, getting feedback from the others, testing them out, documenting everything, and basically creating a repository with all this knowledge, all these stuff we could use. What happened next is that for a couple of weeks, people were struggling, trying to understand them. We were fixing documentation and so on. Then something magic happened. People were not only starting to use them, they were starting to contribute to them. They were they were implementing improvements, they were implementing new modules, they were basically creating new content, they were improving everything. They were using that, they were sharing it with their team and so on. So basically, what we started there, we put quality first, we were really ambitious on that, and then this machine started, and it is basically running alone now. So I'm still contributing to that, but I don't need to do much about that because we are so many amazing people contributing to that every day that it is basically running.
Okay. Our third video is something that usually it's harder for me because I like to open stuff, and I also like to say, I think this is something that I can do in a better way, and I always open a new window, and a new window, and a new window. But this is really against focus because we will split your focus to multiple things, and in the end you are a lot less productive than a guy that usually do one thing, one time, finish, and after start a new one. And this is something hard that I learned this past year because some of my colleagues try to say to me a lot of times, and a lot of time I said, yes, I will do this thing, and in the end, I always open another window, another window, another window, another window. Now I think that I achieved the like to have 2 or 3 windows at each time, because it's really hard for me. I am proactive guy, but in the end, the quality of my task when I don't push myself on only one thing is obviously less than someone that work only one thing. And also, so I try to start to really study how to focus properly. For example, I read a book called The Focus that I suggested you. And what I try to say is that time is the most precise thing that you can defend. You should defend you should maximize the time that you work, because when you try to go deep, it's really a total different way to challenge a task. And for example, you need to avoid distraction, avoid a low priority task that maybe in the middle of the morning or the afternoon. For example, if you have meetings, try to push in the start of the day or in the end of the day, and defend 6-7 hours of your work. But also it means that try to plan some slack time, because if you know that every week you will have some task, random stuff that you need to do, maybe it's better to plan 1 hour every day and do this thing in the end of the day, every day. So for people who ask you something, I think that waiting for 24 hours is not really a big problem. Usually depends on the emergency. But also it will help you to be really productive in the end. For example, we usually do support for our internal tools. We use Slack. Also please snooze Slack, so to avoid distraction. And we have a channel that people, spooners, can open ticket when they need help. And for defending our focus, we decide a person that try to defend it. So we will be in charge to complete all these tiny tasks, all this tiny help that maybe needs some of our colleagues. But also means that if someone asks you something that the level of emergency is not real, maybe you need to spend time to do some knowledge sharing, to do something that will let the person to be independent, and then next time properly to defend your focus and your time.
Plan carefully. So this is actually quite related to what Simon was saying about focus. When you start working with a big team, so when you started to get 100 people in a company, then working different teams, then you will notice that you start to receive a number of interrupts. Basically, not everybody, like most people, focus on their own work, which is what they are supposed to do. And maybe doing their work requires another team do something. So for example, I work in a team called Marketing Tech, and we build internal tools for other two teams. One is marketing, surprise, and the other one is called Apple Store Optimization, also for France. These two teams really need our tools to do their work. Our tools boost their productivity by, I don't know, take a random number you like, and this is how much we boost their productivity. This creates this situation where people, they want us to improve our tools for them to make their work faster. The problem is that when everybody starts to do that, you will have a backlog of 100 tasks you need to do, and you don't have time to do that. What you really need to do when you get to this situation, at least what we think is the best thing to do in that situation, is to plan carefully. So you need really to understand what they want. You really need to understand what you are doing. You need to understand what creates more value, and then you need to prioritize that. That's a pity, but your time is limited, and you won't ever be able to finish all the work you have open. So you really need to choose what you want to focus on. What we are trying to do, we are still learning how to do that properly. What we think is best to do in that situation is to collect, to try always to understand people asking you to do stuff, why they want you to do those stuff, what value brings that, what is, if there are any dependencies, sometimes they ask you for a task that takes 10 minutes to you, which would be amazing, but maybe these 10 minutes require you to ask another team to do something, and they have their own backlog, so it is kind of complex. What we are trying to do is always get all requirements, not really requirements, understand the problem deeply, put them on a piece of paper, on some tool, whatever you like, and then sit together and think, okay, what shall we do next? What is more important? Are there any hidden dependencies? How much time does it take? And so on. Once you get that, you will notice that you are much more productive. Sometimes you also manage to focus, because you know you're focusing on the most important stuff. So you can snooze Slack, quit Slack, find a silent room, find a place, get your headphones. Yeah, those ones, thank you. And then focus, and you will see at the end of the day you are happy because you managed to do something, and you know that thing is the most important thing you could work on.
Okay, and we get to our last video, lead, inspire others. This is a broad topic, and also we discuss a lot about this topic because leading is something that everyone do to different levels. For example, leading means working hard to achieve the goal of the team. Means working and be productive, where productive doesn't mean really working hard, but maybe reaching the goal in the fastest way, in the better way, and also in a good level or high level of quality. And also means, for me, managing and supporting your project, your task in a very good level. So no one else needs to rework, needs to understand what's going on, needs to help you to maybe with the task, maybe with an external. Because I think leading is more on supporting than managing when it comes also to other people, because you need to find a way to be a firefly to others and to understand how can they achieve the most, because sometimes they're really good in communication, so maybe if there is a task of communication, some document, you need to ask help to them, because they are very more good than you. And I think when there is someone good in communication, there is a lot of to learn, and so asking to that one is important, but also means maybe maintenance, maybe in approaching a new feature, maybe in approaching a new tool. I think everyone is special and also really good in some stuff, so you need to find a way to help people in that situation. And this is, I think, the way I thought about leading. And also inspire others when you try to lead, when you try to do a lot of stuff and do in a good level. I think inspires, it will come consequently, because when we will start to do some stuff in a really fast way, in a really good way, usually people ask you how you can do that, how you can achieve that level. And so I think inspire is something that comes with practice and time, obviously. Okay, I think we are finished. I just want to say that this is our only file, the sum of our values. I hope you will enjoy it, and thank you for your time.
Okay, question from the audience. What about using retrospectives to create empathy between team leaders and team members?
Okay, I think, okay. Back.
Thank you,
Okay,
Franz.
I think the retrospective are really useful, and yes, I totally agree on having a retrospective. Usually try to have retrospective one at each month, and usually we prefer to, sorry, we prefer to give feedback as fast as possible, because maybe the level of urgency is too high to wait for a month, and maybe you need to have a retrospective the next week, or start a discussion, for example, with your team leader the next week, instead of waiting 1 month. But apart of that, I think the retrospectives are really useful when it comes with soft skills and your team.
So basically we do both. So we have some scheduled
Yeah.
retrospectives, like the official ones, but whenever you need, you make a meeting, you talk with people, you give feedback. So yes, that's super useful. We do that a lot, and that's something I recommend everybody to do. Oh yeah, sorry.
Very related to that, there's a question on how do you give feedback to someone? Usually I'm scared because I think it might offend.
Haha. That's interesting. Do you want?
Yeah. Okay. I'm usually the guy who offends. Because my level of soft skill are like under the. I try to collect some example. I try to put myself in his or her shoes. So I try to understand why he did that, or why she that. And when I collect some of example and I collect a serious concrete action, I try to tell him few of them, because too much feedback is wasteful. And in that situation, usually when I know that maybe sometime is maybe it's a difficult topic for someone, I try to ask to other people to address by communication, because feedback is also a matter of communication. If you are not communicating well, you are not doing a good feedback. So you have to practice in communication a lot to try to reach the other person.
the other thing that helps there, at least in my experience, is to try to understand people. There are some people you can talk, you can be very direct to, for example, Simon. You can tell Simon, whatever, you've done this, please don't do that again because it sucks, or please do that again because that's amazing. There are some other people that are more sensitive somehow, sensible, sorry, whatever, you understood. And with those people, it also helps somehow, sometimes to give a softer feedback. So for example, you don't need to sacrifice on the content. So you want to pass some content, and that's the goal of feedback. But the way you expose that can help the other people to understand it. The other thing that helps is maybe if you have a positive feedback and 3 negative feedbacks, and this person is sensible, it's really nice to start with the positive one and spend a bit more time on that, so that the person feels comfortable. And then you go and try to give also the negative feedback, and you try to bring examples to that. And you explain that it is not to shame this person, but to actually help the person to grow, to get better.
Yeah, on this point, every time you give a feedback is in his progression. You give a feedback. Wait a moment.
It's 10:57.
Okay.
We are fine.
You give a feedback because you need a better version of your colleague, not because you need to blame it. You need a better version. You know that he has some weaknesses, so you try to help me to enhance them in some way. Because if he or she is a better version of himself or herself, it's better. The next time it will be more fast, more productive, with good level of quality, etc.
Okay, final questions. Do you do pair programming? If so, how do you organize it?
Do we do pair programming?
Okay. Okay. Yes, sometimes I do. I do for knowledge sharing. Usually, when I want to share some of my knowledge, for example, I did the last week with my new colleague. I need to do a new task, and I thought, okay, I can do it in 5 minutes, but maybe it's more important to spend an hour and try to explain some stuff that are not really linear to my colleague. I did some pair programming, and pair programming, it doesn't mean that he code and I saw. We do some stuff he did that, and some I do, and we usually don't do every day. We do only in some situation.
I think about myself, I've never done proper pair programming where you sit together for many hours and one guy codes, the other one observes, and then you exchange roles. But I've done many times something really similar. So take the infrastructure I was telling you about before. So I spent a lot of time on that, so I got to learn some tricks. And when my teammates and also other people at the company needed to start with that, we were discussing that together. So maybe we were not really doing pair programming, but we were doing something really similar. Like a session where we were together in front of a screen and trying to crack the problem. So trying to, maybe it was not really about coding, maybe it was about thinking, knowledge sharing, infrastructure and so on. We did that, we did something really useful. So actually it would be super nice to try pair programming. So I guess, yeah, those kind of stuff are really useful.
Okay, thanks to Benny Spoons. A big applause to them as well. Okay, second talk of the morning. If you want people, there's also some Red Bulls over there at the end of the morning, of the room. I know that it's hard to stay away after partying hard in the night. A couple of seconds and our speaker comes here on stage. Paolo from Data Informatica.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, Paolo, the stage is yours. Clicker. If it's needed, I'll
This
be around.
technology is just too sophisticated for me. The first time I used this kind of headphones, which is good. Looks like being on TV, that's so exciting. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. I'll be a bit, well, not too technical, but I'll talk about what we do. Well, one of the many things we do in Delta Informatica. In our elevator pitch later, I will tell you in a minute what Delta Informatica is all about. But here we are focusing on, let's say, the main line, or at least I should say, the main current research line for a little environment of Delta Informatica called the Delta Lab. By the way, at the end of the room, there's a colleague of mine, probably some of you have met or know him, Matteo Longato. And this is actually the author of the very last slide that I'm going to show you. And so probably one of the key people to talk about if you are curious about the technical aspects. So this is something we can do over lunch or maybe even later. This is my contact point, but I believe that there is also an info contact email if you want to write to if you have any question. And of course you can find me around. No. Okay, first time. Oh, ooh, too fast. Okay, let's see. Okay, thank you very much. So you'll see later, Data Informatica is a very long history. It has a local software house essentially looking after application customers, customization, all these sort of things. And there's a very long story behind the research line I'm going to talk about. And somehow it's my story, and I believe that this story started when some of you wasn't even born, so it's a very long story. But anyway, some 6 years ago, we started a project within that called Presto. So the first part of the talk is about Presto. And this is essentially a serious game, and how to reach a serious game for use in training, in particular for emergency training. Now, after a few years, we discovered that in itself this was a successful project as a research project, but there was a problem with customers, in the sense that we didn't have enough customers to keep a sustainable line. So we started another research project in order to take all the technology we developed in place and move it to a more marketable, or easily marketable, I should say, kind of infrastructure and environment. And this is something that I'm going to talk about in the second part of my talk. By the way, is there anybody, maybe Francesco can just tell me about timing, because just in case, maybe 5 minutes before the end, if anybody can yell me, just in case I get lost while talking. And yeah, later I'll tell you something also about other research projects that hopefully we start very soon. Now, this is the final, this is a demonstration, just a, oops, sorry. How do we start a video here? I need to click on this one.
No.
No, it's no. Let's see. Click on this one. Embedded video in PowerPoint. Okay, so we got a problem here. Let's see. And it's ooh, right. Okay. So this is a kind of a serious game. Well, everybody, I believe everybody here knows what a game is, a video game here. Here, this is a very specific game. We were using for this particular project a platform called XVR. You can find it on the web, XVR, if you look for XVR Sim. It's a training environment, which is essentially a very nice, let's say, 3D graphical tool with some automation of animation and things. that is used in a situation very similar to this kind of setting where we got here. There is the virtual reality, the game that is projecting and is doing things. Oh, by the way, all the animation, all the movements, all the things that you will see while this movie goes on is all automatically generated, in a sense that there is some artificial intelligence that is driving that. And the way we use this particular video game is indeed by taking the original product, is to have a player or somebody involved, in this case as an emergency scenario in a hospital, is actually taking people out of the room with the smoker going on, so you have to learn the procedures, and we actually use this. Sorry, there are different things going on. Let's think about it with artificial intelligence. There's no physics. These bloody guys. Sorry. I cannot talk badly of a competitor, so let's give it apart. Anyway, they don't use the physics, so all the things. But we had throughout all, I don't know if you notice menu and things, so there is somebody playing, actually moving within the room, and then there is an instructor, as it were me, with a table, that is starting action and doing action and starting scripts and doing things while the person is involved and while he gets feedback from the room. So essentially it becomes, everybody probably here has gone to that kind of very boring first safety, mandatory safety instruction, how to deal with fires and so forth. Now imagine that rather than a video and a PowerPoint slides, now you have to play with it. There is an instructor here which would be doing things and making the life complicated for you and starting maybe action and having people running around and doing things. So I'm not going to enter into the detail because it was actually showing what we have done with the original XVR in order to make it, in a sense, more interesting and more engaging, and in particular in automating complex behaviors. And complex and sometimes unexpected behaviors. That was the objective of our research. And as you can notice, the idea was to sell it as a training tool, in particular for emergency. Now, this kind of stuff is very well known and has got a lot of applications, a lot of money into it in the military world. In particular, if you look at on the internet, the platform that everybody uses is called VBS 3 because it's the third version. It's used by all nations, and essentially they organize the big games with sometimes, all the NATO nations, everybody in front of his own screen and doing, and playing against the other in massive exercises. And their artificial intelligence is just behavioral trees. It's amazing this though. So essentially they do not have artificial intelligence because, or very minimal, because it's very difficult to make sophisticated opponents. Now we tried to do something more intelligence for the non-military market, because the problem is costs eventually. I mean, the military can, I have a long background in military, in working for military simulation and this kind of training environments, and the military can spend lots of money. If you are the hospital or trying to, you don't have the money that the military has. So somehow you need to lower the cost of development of this kind of virtual environments. And artificial intelligence, in the sense of having the characters, having the non-playing characters, having the object doing things by themselves without having to script them, that's a critical point in order to lower the cost of development. But still, is not enough. So let me very quickly. This is more for computer scientists here than anything else. I'm not going to dig into the details of this stuff. But anyway, this is the result of the research in Presto. So we started to, first of all, to build lots of automations around how characters and objects move and things happen into a generic virtual environment. So we started by adding semantics, using ontologies in order to tag things and know and give the characters, in a sense, an understanding, so to say, quote me, an understanding of what they were doing and the environment where they're moving in. So first of all, and lots of metadata, locations, places in the areas, being given semantics via ontologies and other mechanisms. And in particular, the agents, we are using a goal-oriented style of programming. And that would be just in itself a very long seminar about it. But essentially, we said, okay, characters have got roles and they've got many behavioral models that say how to play that role. And when you build a character, you have got psychological mechanisms that allows you to switch from one behavioral model to another behavioral model. Just to make an example, having a firefighter in the middle of a fire, its behavior is driven by how well trained he is, how excited he is, how tired he is. So essentially, when we build the characters for the firefighter, just to make an example, we have 2 or 3 different alternatives, and we've got some cognitive parameter like anxiety, the sort of things to switch from one to the other. So this was the kind of things we were developing, and indeed behaviors try to be as context neutral as possible by using semantics, by using logic to describe locations rather than other objects, rather than opponents. Now, after a while, you discover just giving good behaviors, complex behaviors to individual characters is not enough. What is really important in a training situation is to provide a sort of choreography, some sort of group behavior in order to involve people and engage people in the representation. So eventually, we decided to. This was part of one of the part of the research was to look at how we build complex stories in a flexible way, so we can adapt it to different situations, different, also trainee reactions. And what we came out was an entire high-level scripting language for describing how a training session in a serious game, in this kind of serious game, would work. So the picture is, imagine you've got your standard, video game, serious game, whatever, simulation environment. So you've got something here which is a graphical engine with some built-in behavior, and somebody playing with it. Now, add to this picture, and keep these things in mind because they will return later when I will describe the next research project. Add to this picture somebody who is, in a game development, in a big game development company, would be a game writer or a script writer also. In a training environment, would be called an instructional designer. So somebody who is not, who is really thinking about what he wants to achieve with the game, the serious game, the simulation in this case. And that's one thing. This is somebody that that works in an office, say, okay, what do I want to teach? Now, at the same time, we've got in real life, in real time, we've got somebody who is supervising. As I was telling you, imagine a situation where we've got the game here, the gamer, or possibly the gamers, if there is more than one, playing, and then somebody which is the trainer, which is supervising and observing. And fiddling, with the environment in order to make it more complex or less complex, or having things happening that were not anticipated, and these sort of things. So that would be a trainer. So we start to have a situation where we've got 3 different actors, 2 of them interacting in real time, 1 operating, under the hood. And so the idea is that, your instructional design or game writer, whatever, start to author a story, which may be very complex and very detailed. This goes in some sort of repository. At runtime, what you would do, what we actually did, is to add to the serious game, virtual reality, simulation, whatever you got, a couple of engines that were essentially using these stories in order to have the simulated environment evolving. So essentially what we did was to instrument, so we had a couple of examples. One was built with Unity, and the other was the XVR tool I was showing you before. We instrumented the environment in order to extract events in real time. And what we were doing with this engine by using the stories, and we could have many different stories in parallel, because you would have, for instance, the evolution of some physical environment together with, I don't know, the team of firefighters entering together with something else happening at the same time. So what the engine was able to do was to fiddle with directly with the virtual reality, changing things, changing colors, adding objects, removing objects, so on and so forth, but also giving goals to the artificial intelligence, to the characters, to the non-player characters which were acting in the simulation environment. So this was essentially the architectural scheme and what happened. But now, importantly, we had to talk with 3 different people. One is somebody conceiving a game or an instructional session. Another is a trainer using these tools rather than the traditional, PowerPoint and things. Or if you're used to safety training, going real life with, I don't know, fire equipment, for instance. And then, of course, the player there. We'll get back to the player later about, oops, sorry, this was not what I wanted to do. Yes, yeah, an important bit I was forgetting. The trainer in real time was acting as a director, so he could choose the stories in the repository. So he could say, okay, given, how things have gone so far, I want to take that road rather than another road. So he could do things in real time. This is just a little component view, just for you to understand what was the technology behind it. It's still very abstract. So we had a serious game or a simulation, as I said, get a couple just to play with it. We got an editor, a graphical editor, by which you would describe sets of stories that would run concurrently. This is an interesting one. This is not something you get in a normal video game, which is a real-time controller, which is essentially you have the main views of your single-player or multiple-player game. And but on another window, could be a tablet, could be a different computer, the director, so the trainer, was actually controlling, what was going on in the environment. So it could play and interfere with the environment in different times. In a sense, you could think of this editor of story as a kind of level editor, if you're familiar with levels in games. And this is what, more what a master in a role game situation would do, in a sense. Of course, we got our own script engine, but also we got what we call the situation engine. So this is an important bit, by the way. Somebody observing what was going on, also in terms of actions, in terms of decision, as well as in the, let's say, simulated reality. So we had this engine observing what was going on and using a pattern language, getting to high-level definitions, high-level declarations about the situation. A fire is going on, there is somebody getting excited, or somebody is intervening. All these sort of things is essentially a pattern, a kind of pattern language, looking at what was going on and generating events already. We have got a little demonstration of this environment. Let's see how we're going with time. Okay. This is just I'm letting it go. I'll talk through it. This is just to give you a feeling of if I can start it. Yes, a feeling of how this entire environment would work. So you would have your editor. You start to write, the story you want to describe, and this is just a plain editor. Essentially, it's kind of graphical editor with some semantics that I'm going to describe here. There were parallel things going on in parallel. Here is a simple sequence of things, so a simple story. And then we got the simulation environment. Just for your fun, this is the XDR simulation environment. So you have a menu by which you can build your 3D environment just by throwing things. And so we were throwing, selecting from the library of the simulation environment objects and characters, putting there, building the environment in real time, and then start attaching, the scripts. We are going to say it in a moment. So we put object here, and let's see. Okay, here it is. So here we are inside the environment we were building before. Here is the controller I was telling you a moment ago. So we're putting everything in the same line, but imagine here on a different screen, and I'm controlling what's going on. And also I can go from the environment in real time, starting a script, go back to the editor, see what's going on. And here it is. Here is what is happening right now. Here is the various events that are detected while going. And here, these are the things that the trainer, so the real-time controller, can activate given the current context and given what the script was about. So this is a way to build a very rich, a very large and sophisticated simulation environment with runtime control and one or multiple players and a trainer directly involved. So, well, you can see little characters. Okay, so here there is all the description, how you add in real time a new scene and do new thing. I'm not going to describe this for you because it's even too much for today. Oh, sorry, this is not the one. This is the next one. Okay. As I told you, Priceline itself produced those, we saw, in a video the results of some 3 years of research. And that was very successful in itself, but the point is there was no money. There was no money because you would immediately realize from the second video that in order to build a simulated environment to run your own, health and safety course, well, that requires an investment. You have to build a 3D environment, you have to build the characters, you have to build the basic behaviors, you have to think about scripts, you have to do lots of things. If you are the military, you have the money. If you are a petrol company, for instance, this kind of thing, not by chance, the simulation environment we are using is from the Netherlands, and their main customers are either in Saudi Arabia or in Qatar or in Norway. Why? Because you are training people, that are on petrol, on oil platforms rather than in these kind of environments to behave in accidents. Now, of course, an accident in a petrol drilling environment costs, just a little accident costs tens to millions of euros. So spending 200,000 euros, for building a simulation, that's nothing. It's a different story if you're at the hospital and you don't have even the money for the toilet paper. You don't have really money to do these kind of things. So, what we got from the customers, and we are getting back to one of the points of the previous talk. Feedback and focus. What the customer were saying to us, beautiful environment, but you know what? Use the classical online training that everybody uses these days. So the classical courses, if you're going to the university, probably have attended to online courses where there is somebody talking, and then eventually you have to click on a few questions at the end of it, so on and so forth. Now, these kind of things, just to give you an order of magnitude, because unfortunately, these kind of things are get in the middle of engineering. We get excited when building artificial intelligence, but then you have to talk with a customer that tells you that an online course for the employee of say for instance, the RPSS, our provincial health department has got something like 6,000 employees, of which 4,000 need to attend mandatory safety course, high-risk safety courses. Now, if you take an online course, the cost of the course made online is €7 per person. 5 minutes? Okay. The cost of a simulation would be €40 per person. That's the point. So we decided to move from a full simulation environment with the trainee to an online interactive video system. But the critical point was reuse the entire work we did with the simulation as a sort of artificial stage in order to shot training material at very low cost. That's in short the whole idea of Elevate, and indeed this is what was written in the proposal. Now Elevate is work in progress. So what we proposed to our funding agency, which is the province, and then we got a number of partners involved into this, is to say, why don't we use the entire simulation environment to put a kind of, you see a monkey here, a kind of player with a very restricted user interface. So it's not a generic, open environment, open game kind of interface, but very restricted with only a few choices. So we got the monkey as an automatic testing environment. Trying it all, we record everything he's doing, we record all the reactions from our artificial stage, which was Presto, the simulation environment I'll show you. And from there, we generate automatically interactive videos with exactly the same choices that your player would have if it were running the game in real time, exactly the same choices, but rather than having the simulation engine running, you already have the pre-recorded video. So this becomes indeed a kind of artificial stage for building interactive situations. Now this was the proposal, very interesting. We started from the end, so rather than starting from the simulation environment, we started working on the area we know less, or we knew less. There was the Moodle and this kind of e-learning, how they call it, e-learning management tool, those that are used on the web in order to use, run training courses. So we started from the end and we focused on how we build the interactive environment, assuming that we got the videos already pre-recorded somehow. And this is what we came out. So we developed at this time I would say fairly sophisticated, state-of-the-art interactive environment for essentially picking up videos that you could take from everywhere. I mean, it could be YouTube. Indeed, we use something. We use also YouTube, but also something that we shot from our own simulation. You take the scripts and you start the videos and start to build this kind of interactive situation where each edge you see here is a potential choice by the person. So by the trainee who is actually looking at the video. It's quite sophisticated. I'm not going to tell you, but essentially we are building clips and putting it in something that is not a sequence, but is a tree where you can have all sort of potential path through it. We have got an interactive player, but we have got a player integrated with Moodle. Moodle is a very well-known open source learning management system. Probably many of you have heard of it. So you can play in real time, and as an instructional designer, you remember one of the figures, the guy who were in the corner here, who were actually looking at the training. He can see immediately the result of his interactive video while he's building it. But also very interesting is also part of the proposal I've not discussed about. We can also, of course, at this stage, we can also observe. Since we don't have the trainer data, we need to observe what the player is doing, your trainee is doing, in order to be able to say, is he behaving well? Is he doing the right thing? Is it good or is it not good? So we can start observing and do lots of reasoning just by looking how people interact with the interactive video. And again, so by looking at, this is the script of the story, how the trainee went through and took the very different choices through the potential choices, we know how well or how badly he performed with respect to the video. So it started to become quite an interesting environment. But in a sense, we are starting at the end with this story. So we said, okay, we've got the videos. Now let's build the interactive one. But now, if you remember, we said, okay, we want to have the shooting stage for building the video. That's the interesting thing. And so, what we realized, and we are getting back to the point we were doing before, building a good simulation environment for a specific scenario can be extremely costly. And it's very difficult that you are able to build a fully artificial simulation environment, fully artificial shooting stage, right and good at the first tries, at the first attempt. You always discover that you need new objects, you need different views, you need new behaviors, you need unexpected situation to be added to the script. And your instructional designer, your game writer in a sense, is telling you that he wants more that is not supported, so on and so forth. But also the instructional designer, if you go and look how people works, you start thinking about, okay, I want to teach this thing, so I'll put a story where you're put in front of the accident, you have two choices, a good one, a bad one, and you start building the script and you run it, you discover that, I know, that's not exactly what I meant, so you want to get back and rework. So we slightly change our initial approach, let's see if this works, yeah, we slightly change our initial approach, and rather than having, you know, the monkey trying to run all possible paths and eventually recording it, we decided to put, I don't remember if you remember, in the previous picture there was XVR in that case. We were building the 3D environment in real time. So what we are doing here is to have the instructional designer, the guy who writes the scripts, and then having a director here in the middle, rather than the full system running by itself. We tell to the director, instructional designer, so this is all automated, or this will be, sorry, because it is, somebody may realize that this is balsamic. This is a mock-up. We are literally working on it, and Matteo at the back of the room is one of the main programmers of this work. We are using Unity, by the way, as a simulation and gaming environment. So what we are doing is to put the director in the middle that builds the environment, selects what are the right behavior according to the specific point of the script we got to in a kind of interactive building process. And he decides, you know, what the virtual reality should do, and which are, you will see here, the behaviors. Essentially, this is the scripting for your game at this specific time. And he set up this stage, click on it, and say, okay, let's start to record. So let's start to build the next video for the final building of the interactive video. Now, what we cannot see here, well, there are a number of interesting details. Start from a snapshot. It's like saying start from, you know, the specific level at a specific point. Save it, restart it. One of the things we cannot see from here is that at some stage, you know, the person who is in front of this, you know, little theater building, putting the object, putting the behavior, may say, oh, I need an extra object, I need a different behavior. This thing is not what it's supposed to do. So somehow I start, you know, if you're familiar with issue trackers, for instance, like Jira, it starts, you know, a Jira page says to the virtual reality developer or the AI developers, which would be Delta in this specific case, say, oh guys, I need a better character, I need a different behavior, I need something, because otherwise I cannot shoot this specific scene. So this is essentially what we are working on at the moment. This is our main research project. In a few minutes I'll give you, you know, a quick pitch about mentioning some other potential development practice. This is all for now. Thank you very much for listening.
Two questions. First one, is there data evidence of the positive effects of these kind of simulations? Do these effectively help people managing difficult situations?
It is very, very interesting. There are a few studies about it. And specifically concerning interactive video, our use case, which is our main partners as a user, is the APSS, so it's the Hospital of Trento. And we are going to run some experiments in the near future exactly to collect this data. So there is the intuition. There is something from the military that is known, but you know, a systematic collection of data is probably still missing in the literature.
Okay, thanks. Okay, and is it really more effective than a video e-learning course? Why?
It's engagement is the difference. And this is exactly what we are going to measure. So the idea is that in a video learning course, you're sitting in front of the picture, and I tell you by experience that most people does something else. And eventually gets to the point they ask to the colleague, what should I answer here? Okay, number 3, click. That's reality. If you're instead in front of a blood interactive picture and you have to click no to proceed, if nothing else, you're forced to see what's going on. So from this perspective, we hope that things will be better and also more interesting for the people actually subject to it.
Thanks, Paolo, again. Big applause to him. Okay. Because it's you again.
It's me again.
But before you, there's 20 minutes to lunch, 25 minutes, and we go to lunch. And now there's the pitches from the 3 sponsors. We will start with our golden sponsor, Golden Delicious, Bending Spoons. Davide again on stage.
You are not getting tired of me on the stage. So now I can tell you something about Bending Spoons. Guess what? I work there. Okay, who we are? We are a young company of people. We like to travel the world together. Here it was our retreat this year in January, I don't remember, winter. And we went to Tanzania. Actually, we went to Zanzibar first to enjoy beach life there. And then we went to this amazing natural park in Tanzania for a safari. If you look properly, you can spot Simon here. I was hidden here somewhere. They shoot the picture before I could actually show up, so that's a pity. What we actually do, we develop applications, mainly iOS applications. We will probably also move to Android applications soon. The cool thing about that, yeah, well, you have to start from somewhere. They decided to start from iOS. We are getting to Android as well, maybe, hopefully. What we do, the cool thing about that is that we do everything in-house. Maybe except for translating them to Japanese, that's something we don't do in-house yet. Everything else we do in-house, and this is very cool because you have all people working on our own products, and that's amazing because you actually see where you are going. We think about concept. We have designer to design, to develop pixel perfect graphics. Of course, we have development. We have people caring about making our apps easy to find in the Apple Store. We also do some marketing, obviously, to gain new users and so on. And yeah, of course, we have to eat from something, so we offer in-app purchases and other things you can buy in the applications. So these are some of our products. You will probably know LiveQuit because we had a talk about that back in summer. This is an interactive game. You can play it twice a day, I think. Lunch and evening time, more or less. You get some questions. If you do multiple answers, if you get all of them right, you get to the end. And you win this prize. Actually, not all for you. People that get to the end will divide the prize. I think I won one when I was at an event at the company. People were suggesting me all answers. Not the people, not the authors of the answers, other people. But some people win at this game and they'll enjoy that, so try it out. These are some of our other applications. We mainly focus on 2 areas at the moment, which is fitness and video editors. This is something interesting. We bought it from GoPro, which was not really able to make it explode as they wanted. And now the graphic has been updated. It really looks amazing, so I'll try that out. I think I have some gift code later. I need to check if they are working. You can try that out if you have an iPhone. For Android, you need to wait, I'm sorry. Except for LiveQuit. Here are some numbers. I think they are growing because these slides are a couple of months old now. We have about 200 million downloads, 500,000 people, 500,000 subscribers that use our applications around the world, mainly US, but also around Europe. Basically, we are everywhere because, yeah, that's easy to do. And there are almost, there are almost 200K downloads per day, which is amazing because you are really building something that people are using around the world. This is where we are now, but the goal here is not to get those numbers. The real goal is actually to create the most wonderful company in the world. This could seem really about advertisement, but people there really believe in that. The culture in the company is such that people are really excited about that. So we really try to build a really cool company. And the cool thing is that we are not around the world. We are actually in Italy, not in Trento, unfortunately. We are in Milan. But yeah, it's maybe 3 hours from here, so not really far away. And obviously, we are a tech company. We use technology. Both Simon and me are software engineers. There are also non-tech people at the company, but the majority of people have some tech background. And we believe technology is the way we can get there to our goal. Here are some numbers about the company. We like to call ourselves spooners because, yeah, Google employees call themselves Googlers, so we wanted to call ourselves something cool to say, spooners, which sounds super cool in English, not amazing in Italian if you try to translate that, but we like that in English. We are a bit more. We are more or less 120 people, always growing. Almost everybody has a full marketing university degree, but that's not mandatory to get in, of course. 9 nationalities, I think these are even more now, like 12, something like that. We do have a woman, so that's amazing. We also have girls at programming, so that's amazing. Not many, unfortunately, but they are growing. And the other cool thing, cool and bad at the same time if you want, is that we have a really low acceptance rate. And this is a real number, that's not a random number put there. This is amazing because when you get into the company, you will be working with really amazing and intelligent people. That makes your day actually. You go to work and you're happy to go there because you work with amazing people. Finally, we like to conclude this kind of speech with that. That's a real review on Glassdoor. I've not written that. Somebody wrote that before I joined. I will never find a better job, so I'm stuck here forever. It's kind of, I don't know. Think about that yourself. That's it for me. Thank you for listening to me.
I'm sorry, guys. After this beautiful, fantastic presentation, I should apply this. I suspect I will be refused. You're getting a boring, standard company presentation. Okay? But you got an advantage for those of you who are in Trento, we are in Trento.
That's fair.
Let me give you 3 reasons to talk with me rather than them. First of all, they are true good. Anyway, corporate and standard reasoning or standard reasons. First of all, we are a solid company. 100 people too. 100 people in Trento means a fairly large company for our province. We are well established. And we have been around for 40 years, so longer than most of you, probably all of you have been for. Now, if you look at invisibiliconnessioni.com, we are celebrating it with a number of events. This week we had a nice talk about robot ethics at the museum. There was a very interesting one. But so anyway, we got the presence. And if you like volleyball, Delta Informatica is our female volleyball team. So we got a presence also in schools. It's interesting. And of course, now the point is that differently from our previous company, we are really looking at customer support and following customers in their real life, everyday administrative tools rather than management of warehouses and production, so on and so forth. But we've got our R&D group, and you see that our R&D group does things which are quite funny at times. Ask me if it is as fun, I hope so. Talking specifically about R&D, which I think would be the most interesting side of the company for most of you, we have quite a clear track record about getting funded research, getting to the end of it, and continue with the next one, which is not obvious if you are in a startup company. We are not a startup. That's the point. In a sense, that's the message. So anyway, I told you about PlayStation. Remember all the serious game stuff. I have talked with you a lot about some European projects we have been part of. Superseed was done with FBK. For instance, and lots of international partners. Elevate is the one we are working with. But, and here let me get to the next slide, we got, with time we built a network of connections, and which is important also to be able to exchange ideas and having opportunities. Now, the most important is, in a sense, the tradition, where the lab started from, is actually an AI company when AI wasn't a synonym for machine learning, but actually for some symbolic reasoning and the sort of things, goal-oriented programming, all these sort of things. We've been working with iOS since 2006. I was one of the founders of iOS back in the 90s. So another company has been around for a long time in Australia. And with that, thanks to them, we've been, working with small companies such as Boeing, Lockheed, Kinetic, and a few other things. So we've got a few opportunities. Now, we are continuously scouting for new opportunities. So this is not an announcement, but something. We are starting something, hopefully, if things go well, so I cannot do an announcement. Let me just be vague here. If we are lucky, we're starting something very big in the area of the intelligent transport systems and smart cities, starting with some commercial project for a big Italian town. There is not research, which is actually application, but then there is a research project coming along with it, which is very, very interesting. And all the nice things and exciting things you can think about: cloud, edge computing, microservice, including machine learning, Internet of Things, all these sort of things. If things go well, we'll be involved. And then there is another one I don't even have put on the slides about intelligent dialogue systems using Android. We are on the chip side. We are chip company, so we use Android, not iOS. Sorry, but that's also an entire world of opportunities. If any of you is interested in intelligent talking interfaces, doing things for real users, we cannot use hands for whatever reason, or sight for whatever reason. Just come and talk with me. This is all from my side. Thank you very much.
A bit of spoiler. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Good point. So all we have left, as always, I changed my T-shirt to another one. So we are actually here presenting SPAZIODATI. I will get back to the Speck&Tech one later on, but for now, get this tuna fish stuff. Anyway, presenting SPAZIODATI. I guess every one of you remember this moment when there was JGC sitting on that chair, everyone's super excited, great vibes at the event. And we engaged with him on Twitter, and Michele especially was in love with him. And not all the events of Speck&Tech get this quality, and most of the time we spend so long just thinking, okay, what could tech come companies are out there. Who could we invite to our talks to give a talk about something cool or whatever? And our good friend Toto says, I don't know where to start from, but we know because we have Atoka to find them. So if you just go on atoka.io, you find 6 million companies updated like right now. So we can just start and say, okay, let's filter for the location. I find all the provinces of Italy and just say, show me those based in Lombardy, in Veneto, and in Trentino, because they're the closest regions. Okay, 1.5 million, still a lot to browse for. So let's see what they do, what they work on. So let's find by semantic entity video game. And we go down to 2000, not bad, not bad. Let's see the most innovative one. So we use our machine learning model for the innovation score, 184 companies, getting down to 168. Cool. Let's sort them by the revenue growth. That could be quite indicative. Bingo, bending spoons. So we can go to that company profile, see all the details that we want, all the people involved, the balance sheets, the revenues, the social, the shares, whatever you can imagine that, and we're still adding more stuff. And yeah, all the contacts. So yeah, I know what you did there. Yeah, you can get all the company phone numbers, emails, and whatever you want, and just give it a call and invite a speaker. So how is that possible? Because we combine many high-quality data sources. So every day we crawl the web. So we have analyzed more or less 500 million web pages that refer to more or less 1 million company websites, 700,000 social media website profiles, and 200,000 news that are crawled every single day and put into your Atoka profile to search for news and whatever you feel like. Actually, every week you have 200,000 edits in the company. So new companies that are born, company that cease, company that change their directors, and what is the strength of Atoka is that we combine official data coming from Infocamere, from the Chamber of Commerce, via Cerved, and on top of that we put all the data that we crawl and we link them and we provide them to you via an easy interface. But it's not only about that, it's not just the software as a platform tool, it's about whatever stuff that we can do and all the models that we can run on the data that we have. For example, Similarity is one of our most well-known projects, so we can create custom machine learning models that learn from your customer base, for example, what are the common traits or the typical traits of your companies, and then allow you to find the best customers. So, I would say join the SPAZIODATI family. We are like 38 people counting at the moment from 6 different nationalities. One office in beautiful Tuscany, where we also had our hackathon recently. One office in Trento, in the beautiful neighborhood of Le Albare, on the terrace on the 4th floor, with beautiful sunsets and also some remote working possibility. Games, ping pong, darts, beers in the office, a nice family to stay with. And also, if you are like me and Michele and you like the outdoor activities, we have a running team, we do bracciolate, and so yeah, come talk to us. We are very looking forward to get more people as front and back end developers, machine learning engineers, and in general, everyone that is smart and want to get their hands dirty. Thanks. Okay, 5 minutes to lunch, so there's actually enough time, yeah, okay, cool, for going up and taking a group picture, since this time we didn't have the walk outside, so we can go upstairs with the mountains facing us, take a group picture and go to lunch. After lunch, we go to the salotto and there's the career fair. Cheers.